that came way back in the 90s, late 90s, when I was the director of the foster grandparent program in rural mid-Missouri. And I was started out as an administrative assistant to this woman who had been with the program 25 years. She had been one of the original directors of this program, and it was one of the most successful, actually, programs that the federal government actually funded for people, and it was a stipend program for low-income seniors being mentored and connected to at-risk children between kindergarten or Head Start and up to 21, and most of the ones who are 18, 19, 20 were in habilitation centers. They were very severely disabled and had different, learning disabilities like that. When I started, I was so intimidated, and this woman was very strong. She had done an amazing job, but she was getting ready to retire, and her mindset had come to that place where many of that era was, we never have enough in the budget to accomplish what we're told to accomplish in a year. And it got to a point where it was so embarrassing that we'd go for coffee in this small town, and she would be asking people, give us your change, because the program needs it. And I would want to crawl under the table, because this is like, oh my gosh. And then when I was asked to take her place when she retired, I was scared to death. Yet I knew that I was being given an opportunity that I would never, I couldn't turn down. It's not that I'd never had it, but I couldn't turn this down. There was a reason why. And so I stepped into this program, and I had 3 staff members that had been there for 15 years plus. And the program had 100 seniors between 60 and 93 working in Head Starts, elementary schools, middle schools, rehabilitation centers, in 3 counties within rural mid-Missouri. And there was probably about that point, I think there was about 40 different work sites. And these seniors worked 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, for a stipend of about $250 each, and to supplement their Social Security. It was for most of them, it was their life. Once they got into it, it gave them a purpose to get up in the morning, and it was a brilliant program. The mentality of the program was, people are given tax dollars in exchange for sharing some office space, services, and so it was like this organization is a charity. It needs help. It is underfunded, and so we are the poor victim of this. And that was the mentality that was pervasive through the image of the program. And I said to her, I'm never going to ask for money. I'm not going to have this image. We're going to change this, even though I had no clue of how to do that. And so gradually learning the ropes of the program with these women who had been there for many, many years, I started to understand what I could do and what I could not do within the framework. And through the experiences I had, the unraveling of leadership and intuition and doing what you feel you're being shown to do, allowing it to happen, and watching the events of other people play out is what cooperative leadership is. And it all starts with determine the desired goal or outcome, the big picture that is within the group. And it can be just something relatively small, a big picture of something small, or on a large scale. But you have to determine what that vision is. And from there, you start going through a series of questions with everyone involved. And it'll keep on changing. The very first thing you have to ask, because everyone always wants what they want. And the first question to ask is what each person thinks they want. I want from the project. And everybody's idea of what they want will be something very different from where they stand within the community, within the program, within the idea, the vision that is being played. When in morning sadhana, when we went round this circle as far as what chants we wanted to choose, every single one of us, the 5 of us, is like, well, I want an 11-minute one. I want the long ekankar. I want this. I want that. And everybody was completely different. We went around again. Well, are you sure that's what you want? Let's go again. Say if you had another one, what would be the second one? And what was interesting, that second time around, you stopped to listen to what somebody else had just said. And you went, maybe that would be good. And then the next person shared their idea. And you go, no, but I think maybe I can modify mine a little bit. So the wants change. The first want is what you think you want. And as you go around a second time, your thought process changes as you hear other people's desires and wants. Because a want is so...
But all within a single idea.
A single idea.
We all started with a single.
You start with a single idea. It's like
what makes Mount Shasta better?
Right. And so what would you like to see? And then each person will want to see something different based on where they stand within the community. Some they would like a more open business program. Some would like to see that people are more welcomed. Others would like to see it completely pristine and pure and like the cookie cutter. Others would like to have more sporting events, or they would like to have an amphitheater, and others would like to have it just the way it stays, since 1950. Each person has a specifically different want, yet they have to be verbalized in the collective, and they have to be listened to first. Because if you try and create a vision by listening to the wants afterwards, you're looking at a down spiral. The second step is what each person thinks they need. And there's a difference between wanting and needing. And so, with something that I'm very close to in this region, in the summers for many years, I would camp way out for months on end. The rivers and the lakes was where I washed my clothes, and I swam and I bathed, because that's where it was. I was always clean. In summer, there is no reason for anyone to be dirty, to have smelly clothes, no matter what your part of life is. In summer, there is no reason. In winter, it's something completely different, because it's too cold to go there. And so, in that realm of people coming through the Pacific Trail, or if they're coming up on, by foot, wanting to discover, they're being led here with a backpack, they don't have a home, they're trying to live as easily and quietly as possible. In the winter, it's much more difficult. So I would say that sometimes There needs to be a facility that, say, once a week is open to people who are travelers that need a shower, that need a place that they can rinse themselves off in order to feel whole during those winter times. This is just an idea. That's what they need. So this is where you start identifying what each person's ideas and needs are. And it gets communicated to the group. And as it's being said, each person, their mind's going, oh, I heard that. Maybe that's a possibility. And they just make it a note of it. And then somebody else has another idea. Oh, maybe that's a possibility. And then you can also see how some possibilities actually come together as one, and there's a simple solution. Because people, a collective group is much brighter than one individual who thinks they know everything. It's the collective that helps open it all up. The third step in it is what each person thinks they desire. I desire to gain from the project. What does people need to desire? Their desires to gain. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's security, sometimes it's new business, sometimes it's just empowerment, sometimes it could be acceptance. The desire is something else. It's beyond the want. It's beyond the need, because they're more physical. But a desire is something internal, of accomplishment, of a vision, of a dream, perhaps that went back from another time frame. And that desire is, I would like to belong. So the desire is something that it bubbles up from inside. And this is all to do with whatever the one vision is that is happening. The next step is what each person is willing to give up. Because in order for something to happen, there has to be a give. It's a give and a take, but it's a win-win. And so what are we willing to give up? And sometimes it can be judgment, it can be ego, it can be pride, it can be the feeling of being vulnerable, it can be so many different things. But there's a willingness to be available to something that is perhaps not safe in and even perhaps liking somebody who you didn't ever like before, but they've got some really good ideas. Being willing to go there. And when you start hearing what other people's willingness is, it really changes and softens your own ability to have that willingness. Because there's a softening that happens, and it comes from inside. Then you have, what are you willing to give up, but then what are you willing to do? And of course, there is a lot of talkers. Talk is cheap, often. And a lot of people have ideas and da-da-da-da-da, but yet when it's time for actually something to physically happen, there's still the same 5 people that turn up to do the gardening. There's still the same 5 people that turn up to, to help something else. There's not the same willingness to actually do something physical. But if they have an ownership, and they've gone through this sort of process of claiming an ownership in the vision, the ownership of that vision can only happen when they also participate in the doing. Because if they don't participate in the doing, then it's not their vision. And so many times, when we get involved with something,